Hello everyone, I'm your host BlackTuna, and recently Dauntless was updated to its 1.0 official release version, and I've decided to go back to it to see how and if the game improved at all since the last time I've played it. I started playing Dauntless during its early testing phases after having purchased one of the Founders Packs. I liked the game in its early stages, but the huge performance issues made it very hard for me to keep playing it constantly. I came back to the game every once in a while, but was never really impressed with the changes that were being made. And that is why I decided to put the game on the shelf and decided to forget about it until its official release. And that's why I'm now back at it. Now, before we start, I beg you to not judge my gameplay. I've been away for a while and didn't really know the patterns of the new bosses and even forgot the old ones. As soon as I jumped into the main hub, the city, I noticed it. It may not look like it in the recording, but trust me, seeing this place running at 60 FPS after I could barely get 20 in the early stages of the game has been an incredible experience. Apart from that, there have been a few additions to the hub. There's new NPCs, a dog you can pet, and I guess that's pretty much it. Some of these new NPCs will offer users the possibility to craft the two new types of weapons added recently, guns and fighting gloves. Now, I already knew about the existence of guns, and in fact I also had tried them in the past, but the gloves, oh boy, they are good. But before we get to that, let's mention the UI. Probably the old UI was the worst interface I've ever seen in a video game, ever. So clunky, ugly to look at, and other bad adjectives. Finally, it has been reworked and it looks like it has its own spot in the game. I don't know how to explain it to you, but before it felt like the UI did not belong to this game, it was out of place. So yeah, I'm glad they took care of it. It's also possible to have different loadouts for your own gear so that you can swap between them in one click. It's especially useful because in Dauntless enemies are based on elements. So there's fire, earth, ice, electric, dark and light. And this makes it so that you can have different loadouts to fight specific bosses and swap between them when required without going through all the menus and submenus. Great quality of life improvement. I'm still not 100% happy with how and where you can see your weapons moveset, but I guess I gotta deal with it. Also, it will be very helpful if you could actually try your weapons and your moves before going into a hunt, just FYI. Now, to the gameplay itself. As I told you before, it took me a while to get my sea legs back in Dauntless. The game is not hard by itself, but bosses can be punishing, getting a huge chunk of your health with one small tail flip. Now, gameplay has seen lots of improvements, even for the old classes. I'm not sure what kind of improvements, but the whole combat system feels faster and smoother. It's easier to read enemy patterns and dodges work properly. These changes were needed because for some reason back in the days it always felt slow and dodges and hitboxes were not working well. Now, I have nothing against slower combat systems, but something needed to be done in Dauntless. It needs to be clear that this, despite its many similarities, is not Monster Hunter. I like both games, but I also understand why Monster Hunter combat system would not work in Dauntless. It's a very arcadey title, and I'm glad they are moving towards a faster paced gameplay, even with the latest weapon introduced in the game. These fighting gloves feel great. They grant high mobility, solid DPS and sick combos that result in very high damages if pulled correctly. Of course, the downside of it's limited range with basic attacks, but of course it's perfectly understandable. I feel like there's a good variety of melee weapons, but not enough ranged weapons. I understand why you wouldn't want to make fights too easy for ranged classes, but in the same time the double gun feels very underpowered compared to other melee weapons. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. Maps are pretty much the same. I've seen a couple of variants I think, but overall not much changed. What's weird is that I love Dauntless graphics, but in the same time I also feel like they're not pushing enough on the art department. In fact, all the maps, all the isles are surely nice to look at, but they are all empty and all the beauty of what they are creating, it's a bit wasted. I mean, there's nothing memorable about the locations or the main hub itself. Armors and weapons, on the other hand, get the VIP treatment. Every one of them looks unique, and it's clear the amount of time and care that goes behind every single set of equipment. And probably that's the best part of Dauntless. I've been also able to hunt some of the latest bosses added to the game, and yeah, they all feel pretty cool and it's finally some fresh air. Especially the one that summon minions during the fight. I love having to fight smaller creatures during a battle with a big monster. I would only wish that there would be a little bit more variety on the bosses department. As of now, they are almost all four-legged beasts. It would be nice to see some earthworms or something completely abstract. I don't know, something that comes from the storm maybe. We will see in the future. But yeah, this is pretty much all that changed with the latest revision of Dauntless. Have you spotted something else that I missed? And are you liking this update? Let me know with a comment down below, because this is gonna do it for today's video. If you liked it, please click the like button, subscribe, and again, leave a comment down below. And I will see you again in the next video.